success. Welcome aboard to the Forge Trader Podcast with your host, Gates Adams.
Hello, traders, and welcome back to the Forge Trader Podcast, where successful traders aren't born, they are forged. I'm your host, Gates Adams. And man, what a wild ride these last couple of weeks have been. So at the time that I'm recording this intro right now, it is April 14th. I requested my first payout on March 11th. As of this morning, I have $950,000 funded accounts. 8 of them are over the payout threshold at this point, and one is $100 away. So what does this mean? I think the biggest thing for me at this point was immediately when I hit that first payout, I had, I guess at the time, I still had the same 9 accounts, and I was only trading one at a time, really trying to sort of scale back my greed mindset, I guess, was something that I definitely was having a difficult time with. I was pushing so hard to get over that threshold that I was blowing accounts. I had 10. I had already blown one, so that's where I ended up with 9. So with this in mind, once I got to the payout threshold, I started copying a second account, and I traded a few days, got that one a little further up, and I added a third. And I think by the time I had 4, I went ahead and put the rest of the 5 back in to make the 9. And what I realized was that once I was at payout threshold with the first account, I no longer felt like I was in a hurry to get there. This allowed me to take it slow and steady with the remaining accounts. And the fact is that if you take a look at, 9 accounts, 8, well, I'll call it 8 accounts other, past that first one. In the last month, they're all up about $5,000 or more. And so I'm all of a sudden having this moment of, on 9 accounts, I've profited somewhere in the neighborhood of, $50,000 or more in a month. And it still isn't fully registering for me. I haven't seen all of that, of course, in the sake of payout, because of course $5,000 of that is just to get those accounts over payout threshold. But I'm here now. So now all of those are set. And if I continue on the same trajectory, if I continue with the same risk management, if I continue with the same norms that I've been experiencing over the course of the last month, which for the record, I don't expect. But if that was to happen, I mean, that's realized profits in the next month. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 grand. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. And I will keep you posted as I go through this process. But I think the big lesson for me was, as much of a hurry as I have been in, that's what has been destroying me. Not my skill as a trader, not my strategy, not my entries and exits. It's really been that mindset of, I need to get there. I need to get there. I need to get there. So with all of that said, yeah, man, I'm super, super excited about, the next few weeks. I've got a few more trading days to get that primary account back to payout request status. And because of the last denial, I'm still not 100% sure exactly where that landed in terms of why it said, at least 5 days over $50 and 8 trading days. And I'm not sure where the fault was, but what I want to do is I want to make sure that I am consistent in tracking how many trading days I've had since the last payout request, which means that I'm going to go an extra day and then I'm going to request all the accounts together, assuming that everything is still above that threshold. I understand things can happen. But at that point, what I want to do is request all of the accounts together so that I can more easily track and make sure that everything has the sucky thing about getting denied is you got to trade 8 more days to request again. Look, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. I'm not disappointed in it. But what that does mean is that, if I traded 7 days, I can't just trade 1 more day and request again. So I just need to make sure that I have a system in place for me that says you're solid. Go ahead and request again. So that's really where I am. I'm super excited about where I am. I am also, and I mentioned this on the last episode. I'm also very keenly aware that there's a lot of opportunities for me to still continue to grow and develop as a trader. This last week has actually had a pretty positive, significant impact on my discipline, on my trade management, on my mindset when it comes to, I've definitely had a lot of FOMO. You take a losing trade, you chase after it, you want to find that next trade real fast and get into it. I've not completely eliminated that by any stretch of the imagination, but that is a significant focus that I've got, and really waiting for those ideal setups, and keeping everything consistent and clean. So this is the work that I'm doing right now. My goal is to identify one problem at a time, work on developing that one area, and then moving on to the next one. I think that that's the best way that I can continue to develop in a more meaningful way versus trying to say, hey, I got three things that I can work on at the moment. I'm going to work on all three. I think that's just spreading myself too thin, and definitely making it a little bit more difficult for me to overcome some of the continued challenges. So my focus right now is really that patience of waiting for the right setup and not immediately jumping back into a trade after a losing trade, unless it very specifically aligns with my strategy, which there is an opportunity for that. So I've been pretty solid. I've been pretty good. I need to get to great before I start working on the next step. But I think this one's kind of a biggie for me. So anyway, all of that said, I've got an incredible episode for you today. A great buddy of mine, Jim, is a fantastic trader, just a guy who I think embodies what the whole world of trading is all about. And it's not just about putting dollars in your pocket. He has managed to build the life that he dreams of, which includes music and working with his hands. I mean, just building a business for himself that is so much bigger to him than the money he makes and the trading that he does. Trading has just been an avenue for him to get this. So hang loose for just a moment as we bring in today's guest, Jim, on the Forged Trader podcast. Hey, what's up, traders? Welcome back to the Forged Trader podcast, where successful traders aren't born, they are forged. I'm your host, Gates Adams, and I am here today with my buddy, Jim McGee. Jim is there's just the handful of people that you meet through the course of interviewing, and you build these connections, and you just continue to communicate. Sometimes you communicate frequently, sometimes it's been 6 months, and it just you catch up and it feels like it's been nothing but a day. And this is where Jim is, in my world these days. I've had him on the Trader Bacon show. We have him highlighted on the Apex Trader Funding homepage. If you look at the little cartoon in the top right corner, that's his story. And that was something that I was able to help put together because of the relationship that I had with him. In fact, all I did was recount the story that he'd already told me a couple times, and that's how we built that. So, Jim, what a fun pleasure to have you on the podcast today, man. How's it going?
Yeah, it's great. It's always good to see you, man, and chat and catch up.
Dude, you too, man. I remember the first time that we chatted. I can't remember if you just had a baby or you were about to have a baby.
Yep.
Were we before or after?
It was before. Yeah,
Okay,
it
that's
was
what I thought.
it was before, and here we are, the baby's a year and a half old and finally sleeping, and
Congratulations.
we've had a lot of improvements, and man, she's just talking up a storm.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. The recent developments have been really fun.
Yeah.
So,
They start to develop that personality, and eventually they become 18 and 20-year-olds, and then you're like, where did it all go? But hopefully you have the opportunity to cherish that time, and I know you will, because this was a big driver in your growth as a trader, wasn't it?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here, trying to be grateful and thinking about all of the things that earlier in my life that that I wanted, and it's like, man, I wanted to have a family, I wanted to have a wife, I wanted to have a kid eventually, and wanted to play music, wanted to do all these things, wanted to have my own business, and then wanted to pass evals, then I wanted to get paid, then I wanted to, like all that whole thing, build it up, trade a copier, all these different things that have slowly come to pass through focus, determination.
Well, it's been a wild ride, I know, for the last couple of years. And in fact, not only were you about to have a baby, when I first spoke to you, you were working in somebody else's music store, right?
Yep. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a low end luthier job, which just repairing guitars, but I was in I made that move to do that full time for a living for a company, and then quickly outgrew that. I've had a good reputation for a long time, and it came time to open my own shop, which is a much needed thing. A little more autonomy, but it was really cool to work for them, and that was when I really started trading. I had a computer mounted above the workbench on an arm.
Right.
uh, so I watched every tick of SPY for like 2 years there, and then moved to futures shortly after that.
That's wild. And I remember you telling me, your strategy was basically you were looking at 5-minute candles. So you had this heads up. If something was coming up, then you could take a quick pause and see if your entry, basically came to fruition, or you just go back to work and wait for another 5-minute candle that looked like it was going to be, you know, good entry for you. Are you still trading essentially the same way?
Yeah, yeah. What's crazy is, some I've had a lot of friends in trading, some from our Discord and things that, almost all of them have dropped off. There's two of us, well, three of us total out of the original probably 30 guys that were pretty tight who are still trading and having success. One of them is having really good success with Apex. But out of those guys, you know how it is when you go on a little losing streak, and so you start digging in. You go, what's going on? What am I doing? Do I need a new strategy? And I've looked at a lot of strategies and never found anything that I liked more than the one that I developed originally. It took me about 2 years of development on it, and then another almost 3 years now of trading it and seeing if anything could beat it out. But so far, no. I haven't found anything I like better for me.
Well, I love the fact that even though you've reached a level of consistent success, I think it's pretty safe to say at this point as a trader. I'm not going to say there's not highs and lows for sure, but you're consistently. I mean, this is part of what you do. This is part of your life, and you continue to find success in it.
Oh yeah.
That you continue to work on it. You continue to develop it because look, I'm almost notorious at this point for saying that trading is the forever journey. There's really no destination, right? And I think that when we stop working on it, we find that we get a little stagnant, and it
Mm.
becomes if you're not growing, you're shrinking, shriveling up, whatever verbiage you like. And I don't know. For me, I've got to a point in my life where I'm seeking growth in every area of my life at all times. That doesn't mean I'm always achieving it, but I'm always seeking it. And trading is absolutely no different. And I think that this is really one of the mindsets that does build and create successful long-term traders. Because let's face it, trading isn't easy. You talk about years in the journey, right? I just did a testimonial interview for a kid that got his first evaluation, and 5 months later gets his first payout on his first evaluation, on first PA. Now, we know those stories exist, but we also know that they're not the norm.
Right.
And for somebody to take the time, the energy, the effort to continue to grow and develop for that long, for literally years to be able to get to the point where they're seeing the fruits of labor, that's not your average everyday person. When we talk about the fact that 90% of traders don't succeed, well, in my opinion, it's just because they don't stick it out long enough.
Yeah, they don't want to take the pain that long, which I mean, can't blame them.
Dude, like, what's the biggest beat up you've had? Like, if you just look back, I mean, everybody on the podcast knows mine, right? But what's like the biggest beating you've taken as a trader that you just had to overcome?
Oh man. The biggest beating, I would say, yeah, it was just funneling payouts into a personal account and then eventually blowing that up on one day of tilt. That was really rough. Just knowing that the guardrails on the personal weren't the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can always set, risk parameters in your accounts with most brokers, but it doesn't mean that you can't turn them off.
Right.
And the dynamic shift when you go from sim to eva. Look, back in the day, it was just you would go from sim to live trading, and most of us would underfund an account because we made $1 million in sim. Anybody can make $1 million in sim. What we failed to do is recognize that it took us resetting that 100K account 17 times to make a million. Well, if you do the math, it doesn't work out, you
Mhm.
know. So when we achieve this, whether it be by luck or by strategy, we move into live trading, trading our own savings or whatever the case may be. And that dynamic shift, you go from trading $100,000 sim account to a $1,500 brokerage account. You can't trade the same way. I mean, you just, and I think it's just human nature. We think, oh, well, I've done it once, I'll do it again, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, that's not exactly how trading works. But nowadays we got baby steps, right? We can go from sim to eval to PA, and then to eventually, either live trading with a prop firm or self-funded. And with each step, there's a dynamic shift psychologically that we've just got to get through. I hate the fact that you went through that experience, but at the end of the day, I mean, do you find yourself better for it as a trader, as a human being?
Yeah, I mean, it forced me to look harder at some of the things I was doing. For example, discipline wise, I uh I had no routine in the mornings. I was just waking up, bringing the baby to grandma's, like scrambling around and not putting in my due diligence on analysis in the morning. So that was really a big thing. I At some point I stopped journaling properly. So I have a really detailed journaling system now, which has been awesome. I'm spending more time on the higher time frames so that I know where I'm looking for my 5 minute stuff. Um, yeah.
Well, I love that, and again, I think that you're painting the picture that so many of us have lived through. I did all of this work, I did all of this journaling, I'm doing all of this. Well, I felt like I got there, so I stopped doing it.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a perfect example of what we were talking about. It's so easy to look at. I mean, it takes time, right? If you've got a very detailed journaling system, I mean, it's more than a 30-second process, I would imagine.
Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah. The journaling, well, my morning analysis takes about 15-20 minutes, and then the journaling at the end of the day takes about the same. But I'm actually doing screenshots,
yeah.
so I will mark up the chart, type out what I was seeing, feeling, thinking. You know, for example, yesterday I had a winning trade that I just bailed out of because I just felt like I don't want to take a loss today. Like I can't handle a loss, so I closed it.
I laugh because I did the exact same thing. I hit the long on NQ right as it turned around. I mean, it was almost a
Mhm.
perfect entry.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
bailed out on it, and it was 1 micro.
yep.
And I bailed out of it because look, the candles lately have been absolutely insane, right? So my stop, even on 1 micro, was a little bigger than I was comfortable with. I'm up like $200. And at the end of the day, looking back in hindsight, I could have made about $1,000 on that candle. Um,
Yeah,
but
same. This is it's literally same,
But,
except
but
I
I'm,
was
I'm sitting there
short.
going, why am I putting this much risk on one trade? It's a single micro. This just tells me that the stops are too big, and maybe this is not the market for me to be in.
Mhm.
So Well, I
Yeah.
can look back in hindsight and say, "Oh, I would have done really, really well on that." For me, the big win was realizing that this was a little out of my comfort zone and to cut it short.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you don't want to put yourself in that situation where you're going to start making bad decisions. And if you know on a given day, you're just like, maybe you're having a bad day, or a bad week or whatever, something's bugging you, or you didn't sleep, like that is one thing. If you really didn't sleep, man, that's really tough, to get in and go to make good decisions. And it is okay to sit them out. I know that day counter is rolling, you're thinking, "Oh god, I'm on day 7. I have to take a trade today," or
Right.
whatever.
It's so funny as you say that. Just so that everybody knows, I don't get special treatment. I just had a payout request denied. I thought I traded 8 days, but it seems like maybe if I look back at my PA charts, it looks like I guess I only traded 7. I don't know exactly how the math worked out, but sometimes shit happens and you just got to roll with it. And so I traded today, back at it. So I've got 7 more days and I'll request. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but there's so many things that you've got to keep track of if you're really doing this right.
Mhm.
And you talk about 15 minutes pre-market. Well, I think anybody who has a pre-market strategy that or as far as evaluation, that's just going to be a gimme. But it's so easy at the end of the trading session to just feel spent, especially emotionally, regardless of if it's up, down,
Oh,
flat,
yeah.
it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I've really struggled with journaling. I want to get to the point where I'm consistently doing this, and I'm not. I'll just flat out say right
How
now.
many trades are you taking?
And if I'm
Uh,
behaving, one or two, but I'm not always behaving. And this one thing I was saying earlier is I'm not where I want to be, but I'm failing at a higher level. So the net result of failing at a higher level is I'm actually getting paid out, right? So I've got one account that I requested 3 payouts on. Yeah, I mean I got one denied, but it'll come back. Two more accounts that I've already been paid out,
Mhm.
and that's just been in the last less than a month. So for me, this is a huge shift from where I was, well, just a month ago, or 3 months, 6 months, a year ago, and so there's so much opportunity from where I am now as now a paid funded trader with Apex, obviously. Um, I still have so much further that I can get. Like I know that if I will just sit there and clean out some of the bad habits, if I will actually take the time to sit and journal every trade after I'm done, that'll keep me from taking more than 2 trades because it just takes time to go through them.
'Cause it's a pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
this
so
is a podcast.
that
This is
can
really
actually
good.
you so, here's a term for you, legendary trader, Peter Brandt,
Okay.
termed the coin, leakage.
Yeah. This,
Yeah,
this is the third time this has come up for me this week.
that's what I'm saying, man. It's like, if you know you gotta journal that later,
Mhm.
you're gonna really think of
Well, when I first started trading again, which was at the beginning in January of 23, I really thought I was being super smart. I started streaming all of my trading live on Facebook,
Mhm.
and I thought, well, if people are potentially watching me, that was a thing. I knew nobody was really watching me, but I was like, if people are potentially watching me, I'm not going to take these garbage trades. Well, that doesn't
And you
work
still
out.
will.
Still will, right? And there does come a point where it's like, I know nobody's watching me. I saw one person pop in a few minutes ago and they were gone in 30 seconds because I was sitting there quietly waiting for something to happen, right?
Mhm.
Streaming trading is not the most exciting content on the internet. Uh,
Not and even if you're watching, occasionally I like to check in on, Tom Hugard and
mhm.
watch his streams, but it's like, man, sometimes he's just sitting there for 10 minutes, you know?
Look, it's hard to fill that blank space, and when you're trading number one, you should be concentrating to a certain extent. Now, just like we were talking about before, if you don't have a setup coming up, you don't have to be like super focused and honed in on every bar, right? But particularly when something may be coming up, yeah, you want to be very, very focused. So it becomes a question of, well, okay, I need to shut up for a minute instead of, flapping my jaws and listening to the sound of my voice. I need to focus in for a minute. Well, that's just not going to be exciting content. Nobody's going to watch an hour and a half of somebody's trade stream because God help me, I couldn't do it.
No,
No,
no.
my trading style. I always refer to as ICT adjacent. Like it's got some
Mhm.
ICT concepts, but I always joke about the fact that I couldn't possibly be truly ICT because I can't watch all of that. That's like months worth of videos if I just ran them straight and tried to, learn them through my subconscious at night. I can't. I don't have that kind of time, right?
I
So,
watched the 2022 mentorship, all 41 videos.
did you really?
I did. I watched all of them
Yeah, I mean, but
on 1.25 speed, but I watched them.
but you started when you were 6, right? 'Cause that's about how long it would have taken.
I'm over the ICT Kool-Aid, man. I
Yeah.
think, like, there's some good stuff in there, but, it's only because it's also other good stuff. You know?
Well, look, there's no new ideas out there under the sun. I mean, every now and again, someone will come up with their own little flair to something, but there's always that foundation that just came from somewhere else. And to me, you acknowledge that that's legit. If you try to say, "Oh, I came up with this wonderful idea and it's all me," and that's
Yeah.
I don't have any time for that. And like I said, I mean, that is sort of the foundation for my trading style. So I do have a lot of respect for the guy, and I respect the heck out of the fact that he puts out content for free. I mean, he didn't charge. I
Oh, for
mean,
sure.
he can
And
charge thousands of dollars for this. I mean, he's got that kind of name now.
yeah, and the
You know,
stuff, like, the stuff works. It's
yeah,
like, it's just I kind of feel like everything works, though. It's just, if it works to a certain degree and it doesn't work to a certain degree. And so as long as you're sized appropriately and your risk reward is appropriate for your win rate, whatever, and not only that, but personality wise too. So, I have a buddy who's obsessed with ICT, and
mhm,
he loves the precision of it so much that it's like, "Oh, I nailed this candle that was the CE of the weekly NWOG to the tick, man." And, like, to him, that is so rewarding, and
yeah,
it makes him so
of course.
happy. It's like,
It
"Cool, man."
makes me feel
As
like
long
I
as
know what I'm doing,
Yeah, yeah.
And in the world of trading, we don't have a ton of moments like that. We'll have wins, we'll have losses, but to have those moments, I was in New York with Daryl. We got a chance to go hang out at the stock exchange, which was super cool. In back in November,
Wow.
and I took a trade while we were there, and it was just one of those where it's like you get in almost at the bottom and you get out almost at the top. And like I showed him, and I was like we were in a cab together, we're driving somewhere, and I was like, "Hey, check out my trade today." And he looked at it, he's like, "That's freaking awesome." I don't know, it was a 200 something point move, I think. I can't remember. It was a while back. But I mean, it was a significant move, and it was a really nice hit, on evals, because I was not a paid funded trader in November. And he had me screenshot it and send it to him. So I sent it to him, and he shouted me out on there. And like, I got to tell you, it feels really friggin' good when you like, I mean, I called that almost to the T.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it feels so good because it happens so rarely. That is not what trading ever looks like on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
It's the exception that proves the rule. That's why we feel like little mini gods when we do that.
Mhm.
But that is absolutely not the reality of trading, as anybody who's been doing this for any period of time knows. But yeah, it's just
Well,
it,
I don't really care about, analysis,
mhm,
and, like, my own anyway. It's
yeah,
like I don't really get a thrill out of being like, "Boy, I was right, it went up today."
mhm,
More of, did I execute what I intended to do today correctly? That feels like more of a win, even, I mean, that said, it's like, of course, I wanna be green. I
sure,
really, really wanna be green every day if possible, but, it's I don't really care about calling it. I guess it's like, as far as, like, I don't wanna tweet, "Oh, we're going up today." Well,
yeah,
I
exactly.
might, and, part of my morning thing is I screenshot the 15-minute chart, and
Mhm,
I draw with the brush tool
yeah.
where I think it's going today, and at the end of the day, we check that. I'm not right very often, but I am green very often.
Well, and that's such a phenomenal point. You don't have to be right to be great.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the work that I've been doing lately. Of course, ICT is very, know your bias, don't ever trade against your biases and that. Well, I've got a mentor that I've been working with that is very much like, don't get so caught up in your bias that you miss an opportunity.
Hmm.
And that has been a big help to me in continuing to grow. And it's like I, I know I still have so much further to go, and I know there's still so many opportunities for me to grow and develop it, which is why I continue to do all of this. The only reason I'm still trading is because my job is to talk to traders all day,
Hmm.
and
You're,
it's
yeah, you're in the perfect spot to learn everything that you need to know, I mean, and you'll know those little tidbits as you get them.
well, and it's really funny because like I couldn't hold a real trading conversation when I started doing this, and for probably close to a year. Nah, let's yeah, close to a year. And when I really started putting in the work and learning more about more than just what Daryl was teaching, which, like I said, what he was
Mhm.
teaching was phenomenal for anybody who was willing to go back and do the work that was beyond just looking for those particular shapes and patterns and all that kind of stuff, right? And I just at that point I wasn't there. I wasn't confident in doing that. Um, but as I continue to have these conversations, I like it was really easy for me to pick what direction I wanted to go strategically because you talk to several hundred traders and you're like, well, what is your strategy based on? And it's trend lines, very few, handful of people very successful with trend lines, but very few. You got supply and demand, you got indicators, but I've heard ICT more than anything. But one thing that I always heard with ICT was like I went did the ICT thing and then I sort of twisted it and made it my own.
Mhm.
Well, and I think that the lesson in that is that a lot of it really comes down to look, when something finally makes sense to you, or at least this is how I felt, when something finally makes sense to you, there's ways to make it make more sense. There's ways to sort of clean it up to your personality, to your disposition, or whatever the case may be. And that's really what I've been working on.
Yeah,
But
optim
yeah, you optimize it for you. But you
Mhm.
talked about earlier that like really any strategy can be successful. And I mean, I can unequivocally say that because I've literally talked to hundreds of traders and nobody's exactly the same. Everybody's got their twist on this, their twist on that, and it's all over the spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I can't remember if I've shared this story on the podcast or not, but I had an experience where I'm watching this YouTube video and I still remember this. It's like, 21-year-old kid has a 72% win rate with this super mechanical entry. And so at that time, all I wanted was mechanical. I literally wanted to take my head out of the game because my head was where my problems were. So I heard mechanical and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this thing. And so, and it was. I can't remember the details. Like somebody had mentioned that I guess the strategy exists and has a name, but had something to do with the first 1 minute fair value gap at market open. And
Mhm.
then you would take basically an arbitrary trade and you would give it a 2-to-1 risk reward. And I mean, you just pump it out like that, right?
Mhm.
And like there is zero analysis that goes into this strategy. That like it is the most simplistic mechanical strategy out there, right? At least that I had seen. And so what I did is I back tested this for like 40 days on 6 different instruments.
Mhm.
5 out of the 6 were profitable, just a little bit, but
Yeah.
5 out of the 6 were profitable. It ended up having like a 40-ish% win rate on a 2-to-1 risk reward. So, I mean, you're up, right? One of them was a little bit down, but none of them were really that bad, right?
Mhm.
Now, sustainably, I don't think this is a strategy that really is probably going to work long term because out of 6 instruments, 40 days, like nothing presented itself strong enough to where I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do from now on, right? But what I did learn is that if you execute consistently the exact same way every day, with the same criteria, then you actually have a shot at your system. Like while the results were very mediocre, they were better than probably 95% of traders out there. 95% of traders aren't making a consistent profit on 5 out of 6 instruments over a 40-day period. I just don't believe that's the case.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, so that was a big lesson for me. And as much as I finished that whole exercise that I put myself through, kind of pissed off, right? I was like, these YouTubers or whatever that I actually know and like that YouTuber. He's been a big part of my growth.
Mhm.
Not the guy that he wasn't the 21-year-old kid, but he was the one who was highlighting it.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, that video really pissed me off, but it taught me such a valuable lesson in consistency because
And then you have your stats too.
What's that?
You have your stats also. If you're actually consistently doing the same thing, you can check your stats.
Well, that's exactly where I was getting to, because if you're not consistent in any way, shape, or form, then your stats are absolutely meaningless. Doesn't
Mhm,
matter how diligently you keep your stats, they're completely meaningless. There is no actionable step that you can take other than, if I actually got consistent, these would mean something.
mhm.
That's your actionable step at that point, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know. That's kind of where I am now. I'm getting more consistent, but then I let frustration take place, or I maybe look. I notoriously trail my stops too aggressively,
Mhm.
and then I feel like I've missed an opportunity, so I find myself getting back in while it's choppy.
Mm,
I like this is a constant battle for me. And so I'm on the outside of the charts, and my logic center says, "Don't do that," right? But my emotion center, when I'm in the trade, says, "Well, you protect your wins," right?
mhm.
So
Well, just systemizing that could be good. What I am attempting to do, for my stops is, so a DTFX concept of, of if you have a swing and it breaks out, then that low that it broke out of is considered validated. And so moving your stop there, wait for it to break a whole new high, then move the stop to the low. And so I'm trying to do that, but I'm doing those on the 1 minute. So a lot of times I'm only catching maybe like I might catch a 5 minute swing or a 15-minute swing, but I'm catching pretty much all of the swing by moving it up with the 1 minute little swings. And so that's been working because, as you know, I was always scalping and not getting huge wins ever. So it's kind of been helpful, for doing that.
and that's about how I trail.
Mhm.
But I think what I'm missing is finding some displacement over the most recent high. I'm taking a tick over the old high.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm moving my stomp up.
You
So
gotta
I'm
have
definitely moving them up too
you
aggressively.
gotta have at least like a nice close above, before you move it. Something you said about bias
Mhm.
just sent me on a mental tangent here. The biggest and worst losses I have consistently had ever, and the most painful, all of that, every single time is on hard trend days where I have the opposite bias.
Oh, ouch! Yeah. Mm.
So I can stay alive and profitable in choppy conditions, which
Mhm.
are most of the time.
Right.
And if you get those days where it's a straight line and you're like, well, it's about to pull back. It's about to, and some days it just doesn't. And, those are the days that get me. So, if I could figure out, and maybe you can figure this out for me, but,
Coach, yeah,
if
I'm the guy.
if I could ever figure out when a large trend day is coming, that would be great, 'cause, that's the only conditions that get me, and, I've been better about if I'm wrong, cutting and reevaluating, and I'm at least really trying to go with trend all the time, but it's that bias that gets me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's absolutely. We want to be right, and I
Mhm.
think sometimes we want to be right more than we want to be profitable.
Maybe.
Not on paper,
Yeah,
not at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when we're sitting there lamenting the day.
yeah.
When we're in the charts, I think we want to be right, and that's more important to us than and this is why I make mistakes. This is why I'll see myself in a chop situation hitting the reverse button. I hate that about me. I hate the
Oh,
reverse button. Don't ever
I'm
touch the reverse
confused.
button.
Oh, I should try that.
Don't do that. No, really don't do that. I promise you, you will not be happy about it.
Oh, that's
But
fun.
but it's like, okay, and that's the thing, okay, so I thought, and you're talking about bias. I thought bias was the golden, the goose laid the golden egg,
Mhm.
because I've sat there and I've gone through stages, right? And I've gone through stages where it's like, okay, I can see both sides of it. Like, I can make an argument for it dropping. I can make an argument for it taking off, right? So if only I had good bias, then I'd be a millionaire, right? I have all these ideas that are going to make me a millionaire trader, right? But at the end of the day, trying to find certainty in something as uncertain as the market, I think is sort of the kiss of death. You have to have some flexibility. Now, of course, you got to have your set of rules and you got to have some rigidity to that, but you
Mhm.
also have to have enough flexibility to where when you're flat out wrong on your idea, you don't take a big hit and maybe you can catch it going back the other way,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
not with the reverse button.
Not you gotta wait for an actual setup, ideally.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I don't know if you do this, but you look at the end of your trading day and you go, I got in on this and it was garbage. And if I had waited 10 minutes later for my actual setup
Dude.
that I'm supposed to take, how many times did your actual setup work out perfectly?
Oh God. I
So many times.
probably tens of thousands of dollars worth at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
It's like it's the nature of the beast. And there's your FOMO, there's your anxiety to get into a trade. And I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm in Central Time. So, market opens at 8:30, and I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting there at 8:32, 8:33 going, oh, this is the move. I don't want to miss it,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
you know? And it might be relatively picture perfect, but we all know that 3 minutes in the market open, nothing is that reliable.
Mhm.
Not in the moment. In the moment, that logic goes away. So
Either way you went, they're gonna stop you out before it really goes, you know?
exactly.
I mean,
I guess all it really takes is going back and looking at like the last 30 days and watching that first candle
mhm.
print in
Well, that's
replay.
probably a great exercise for you for,
So,
even for going, "Wow, I don't wanna trade until 15 minutes after open," or whatever. I don't know if you have any rules like that. I personally don't. I take it whenever I see it, whether it's at market open or not. But I have much better results in pre-market
mm.
and lately in Asia, man.
I struggle with pre-market because I always know that no matter what everything looked like, because like I said, I get to my charts about 7:45, so 45 minutes before the market opens. Well,
Mhm,
I might see my entry, but I'm like, well, why am I going to take this now? Market's going to open in 45 minutes. You know, it's going to dick around for 45 minutes. It's not going to do anything really, right?
mhm.
And then that market open, we know you're gonna get this big spike. You're gonna pop that liquidity that basically gave me my trade. You're gonna hit my stop, and then you take off and what would have been my win.
Mhm.
I'm terrified of that happening. I don't know if that. I mean, I feel like that would be a pretty regular process based on my time frame. Now, if it's 6 o'clock in the morning, that would be a different call.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's the interesting thing for me is that I continue to find so many areas where I can continue to grow and develop, and that's really my mission right now is to identify the weak spots and not try to fix them all at once.
No, no, one at a time.
Mhm.
That mentor that I've been working with was talking about that. It's like we're all looking for a way to get from where we are to where we want to be quickly. That's just really not the way to do it. It's like almost it's making such gradual improvement daily that you feel like you're not even doing anything
Right.
moving toward what you want to be. But yeah, trying to tackle those things one at a time. I mean, like I said, I'm doing risk management. I'm trying to size smaller and lose better.
Right.
And I feel like if I get that dialed in, well, the rest of the stuff is mostly good. So,
Right. Well, and sometimes and I hear this from traders all the time. It's like I was cruising along, I was doing okay, and I made one little tweak, and I didn't even think it was going to be the one.
mhm.
I made one little tweak and everything changed, you know. But that's the thing; you never know which tweak it's going to be. So you got to take them all in some sort of logical order and address them one at a time until things just start to hit right. And so that's what I've been trying to do. It's frustrating because you know you got one session a day, so I got one shot at either trading clean or not trading clean today.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how many
Yeah.
times I've said you break one rule, you're going to break multiple rules. And you know the the other issue is I can't tell you how many times I've been rewarded for bad behavior. I do things that I know I shouldn't do, and it pays off.
Because you know it's gonna work,
Yeah, it's
most
tough.
like. Well,
It's
man, try experimenting with this. This is what I'm trying to do, what I'm thinking in my head as the dopamine swap.
uh-huh.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm making a checklist of, did I follow my rules today?
Mhm.
And if I did, I get to check that off and
Yeah.
feel good. I get that little hit, you know. So trying to sub that out for, for the other, for just like, can I hop in and make, 20 bucks real quick? Yeah. Feels good,
Mhm.
but it's like trying to swap for a healthier version of that, and actually writing it down, going like, that's the one thing I'm like, okay, was I right today about my
Mhm.
analysis? Did I follow my rules? Did I learn anything? And if I do, I get to check that off. And
Right.
it's like, man, I mean, I'm only trading perfectly like 2 days a week, if I'm being honest, and I'm trying. I'm
I gotta say, that's probably better than average. That's probably better than average even for successful traders.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not trying to discourage you from getting better by any
yeah.
stretch, but I mean, I don't know. It's just too easy to get caught up in the moment, and I feel like a lot of people are consistently seeing success, but I'm not sure that a lot of people are that clean
Mhm.
because the market will just draw shit out of you that just like every little chink in the armor, so to speak, every thing that it can find and grab a hold of to draw out of you bad behavior, bad habit, bad whatever, like it's going to do it. I mean, that's just how the market works. You
There's a
know,
good teacher though, right? Yeah.
phenomenal teacher. I got to tell you, if I'm a better trader, I'm better in every other part of my life
Mhm.
because I have to get better in every other part of my life just to convince myself I have enough discipline to make good decisions in trading.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You know,
I mean, I feel like that's been one of the largest modifiers in me becoming a better person, is just the pain of trading, like going through all that, trying to fix these things one at a time, and realizing it's like it holds a mirror up to you where your flaws are, where you're greedy, and where
right?
you're scared. I'm a lot more scared than I am greedy.
Yeah, and I think again, I think that's I don't know. I don't know that that ever goes away. Maybe it does for some people, but I think that that's just something that if it doesn't go away, you learn how to better handle it and manage it. And I don't know. Time will tell. We'll kind of see how it all plays out. So
Yeah.
you talked a little bit about sort of making some adjustments outside of trading that have helped you as a trader. You talked about like your morning routine and stuff like that. What are you actually doing nowadays that you've been able to bring into the world of trading?
Yeah. So I never did that ever in my life. I've always been as a musician, I've been up late. I'm a night person, all that. So all this early morning market stuff, and especially having a baby, is really tough. So I didn't want to get up any earlier than I had to. So it was like sleep as long as you possibly can and then scramble,
Right.
So I started waking up earlier, and I plan on even doing a little bit better with that moving forward. But I'm waking up, I'm doing stretching. I'm trying to get mobility and blood flowing, and I end that with a few push-ups. But I'm also trying to do a prayer meditation kind of thing while I'm moving around through my stretches, and spending that time trying to take a minute to be grateful for where I'm at, for the opportunity. I feel like obviously trading has the greatest opportunity of anything you could possibly be doing, even though the trade-off is that it's so hard. But then from there, I move into, drink a glass of water, so I'm hydrated, and then I start on the daily, and I do my markups on the daily, and then I move down. I do 4 hour, 1 hour, 15. By the time I'm down to 15, I start having an idea of what I think is going to happen, and then when I get to the 5, I can start looking for entries and go, well, I think I'm going to see my entry probably here, probably this direction, and
Mhm.
and then go ahead, execute as best I can. It's kind of hard between working, say go and drop off the baby or all that stuff. It's like, well, your setup's going to happen at the most inopportune moment for you during that day, and trying to set it and trying to follow, put a stop, trying to put a stop, which is really hard for me. Uh, Trying to move it if I'm right, move it slowly, all that good stuff, and then at the end of the day, just checking it and taking that time to actually screenshot it, like actually do it. Did you take a trade outside of your system? Yeah, screenshot that too. That's got to be in there. Show your executions. And then, oh, very critical part that I'm leaving out. Um, uh, Market watch the charts. So daily, whatever red folder events you have in the day, knowing when that, are you getting a news announcement at 9? Being aware of that and not being in a trade going into those is
Right.
super important. And then the big thing that I feel is critical and unique, I made folders on my desktop.
Mhm.
I have a good trades folder and I have a bad trades folder, and I have a good analysis folder and a bad analysis folder. And at the end of the day, each screenshot of my journal gets sorted into those folders. And the very final step of my morning routine is opening bad trades and looking at them and going, avoid this, avoid this. You tend to do this, don't do that. And then looking at the good trades and say, this is what a good setup looks like.
Yeah.
Do that. And trying, so I'm trying to not only, I'm trying to aim at something
Mhm.
and I'm trying to avoid something also. And the two together should push me in the right direction. It seems to be righting the ship after my larger losses earlier this year, coming off the heels of my largest wins ever, as they tend to do.
Right. Well, and it's the nature of the beast. We not only have psychological shifts when stuff happens, we also have market conditions start to change, and things that were working consistently may not work as consistently for a period of time. And, of course, what most people do is they abandon everything they were doing and start over from scratch, which, is going to take them 6 months before they get any sort of consistency with it.
Mhm.
Or they can see how what they've been working on, what they've been doing fits within the current conditions and start to make maybe some minor tweaks instead of scrapping and starting over from
Mhm.
scratch. And I hear that all the time. I mean, I think one of the biggest dangers to traders is just hopping from one strategy to another, and sometimes there is a time for change, and sometimes you're new and you still have to find something that works for you. So I'm not saying don't go explore,
Mhm.
but when you find something that is that makes sense to you, I mean, I think that's ultimately what it boiled down to for me. The concept of liquidity, as it applies to the general basic ICT concepts, that makes sense to me. There's logic behind that I can latch onto, and so I can see things and I can frame it based on that piece of information, that piece of knowledge that makes sense to me.
Mhm.
So if what I'm doing is working, great. If it stops working or it's not working as consistently, well, maybe there's some adjustments that I can make, but I got to stick with that same foundation. And so I don't know. That's really where what I'm trying to get to now is making all those adjustments. Even though things are working, I know that there's a lot that still needs to be cleaned up, and I'd love to be able to get to 2 days a week of clean trading. That would
Yeah.
be a big win for
Oh,
me.
oh man, I figured you'd be all 5 days, but you know,
Yeah, not yet, not
so,
yet.
if I would say for trying new strategies, try it on a new account.
Yeah,
Like have just a new account, that you only do the new thing you're trying, and the kind of diversifies a little bit too. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah,
Um, one of those things that Tom's email suggested for me. He said, "Hey, have your reversal strategy that you do all the time, but also find a trend following strategy you like and run them both,
right.
because that way if you're trending, one of them's doing good, and if you're not trending, the other one's doing good. And as long as your risk management's under control, then that's even better.
Well, exactly.
I mean, I would ideally like to be doing that. Have a couple. Honestly, I want to have an account for just a little EMA follower and just see how I would do with that because I've never really done that. You know.
Well, and there's so many tools, there's so many things out there that can give you meaningful information as long as you understand what that information means and how to use it. And
Mhm.
again, I think that that's a big mistake that I've made in the past. It's like, oh, well, this is key information that I need to know. Well, now I have this piece of information, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what it's trying to tell me, and that's I mean that's been part of the growth curve is sort of honing that in. The other thing, what I don't want to do is I don't want to overcomplicate it to where I've got 17 different calculations I'm trying to make on a 1 minute candle to figure out if this is my entry or
Oh
not.
yeah,
And
yeah. It can't be too complicated. I mean, it's you can always add you know add
little help.
filters until you can't take any trades.
Exactly, yeah. At some point it becomes now just stay out of the market today.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's well what where are you going from here? I know at this point you're no longer working at the music store. You've got your own, you've got your own music your instrument repair, right?
Yes.
Primarily guitars.
Yep.
Back wall
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Phenomenal.
Guitar repair. Yeah. This is my house, so that's all my personal stuff.
Right.
But yeah, just fixing guitars. I mean, historically, I fix about 1,000 a year, roughly.
Mhm.
It's a pretty busy thing. People will always drop and break their guitars, so
Mhm.
I've always got a guaranteed income there.
Steady market.
I mean, look, ideally, I would like to be just trading for a living, but it's nice to have the bills paid with that, and you can't go negative
Right.
working on working on guitars. So
Well, plus, but here's what I don't know. The way I see it is like I do more than trade, right? I love trading. I'm not at the point where I'm paying my bills with trading, but I love everything that I do. And I kind of see that with you because I know you're a musician. I know that this has been a part of your life since you were very young. And I've got to imagine like I'm not handy, right? But I got to imagine the satisfaction of being able to take what I've seen on some of your posts on Facebook, like something that looks like it's just demolished and is never going to see the light of day again, and turn it up almost picture perfect. That's got to be really satisfying, especially when you have a love of music the way that you do.
yeah, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm actually part of the reason I like talking to you so much is the podcasting and stuff. I've got the idea of I share a suite with photographer and videographer, and I'm thinking that when my customers tell me all their stories about their guitars, which they inevitably do,
Right.
you have to factor that amount of time in.
Sure.
I think I want to do a little guitar podcast and
Do it.
just whenever people are like, "Oh, cool, you want to talk about your 1950s Gibson that was your uncle's and he sawed a hole in it or whatever, you want to talk about that? Well, let's walk over here."
Right.
And then maybe we can, put out some content and stuff like that because it's pretty fun.
That would be super cool. I think if you did one did like a recording at the intake, and then you do another one with the guitar in hand, right? Do
Mhm.
one at intake and do one when you're complete. Not only do you get the story, but you get to show off your work. I think that would
Oh,
be phenomenal.
yeah. Well, I think that'd be really cool. I've been watching a bunch of car repair videos
Yeah.
and going like, man, that is super cool. And I think I get a little bored with guitars because I've seen and played them all, but to a lot of people, it's really exciting to see
Mhm.
the transformations of them. So I think that would be cool, and the stories would be good for sure.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, I think being able to put that all together would be super cool. I think you build a quick audience. I mean, music is just such a foundational piece for so many people.
and man, Gates, you'd be surprised to see when my music customers come in and see a stock chart. They are very, very confused.
I can see the disparity. That just does not seem like the same mindset.
Yeah, they're like, "Who are you?"
Hey, have you not been to the Apex Trader Funding homepage? I'm right there. My whole story
Yeah.
is highlighted in there in cartoon form.
You guys aren't on there every day, you know?
I
Uh,
love it, man.
that's hilarious. Yeah, you should see. And some of them wanna talk about it, and then some of them are just, like, completely overwhelmed by the idea.
Well, look, it's trading's not for everybody. I think we know that.
No.
It's and some people might feel like they might be interested, but again, a lot of those I think are gonna be filtered out when you figure out how much work it is.
Oh,
But
yeah. You gotta love
you
it. I mean, you gotta love it.
you do, and yeah, I mean, if I didn't love it, there's no way I could have gotten through all of the challenges that I've experienced for sure. And I think any trader can say that, regardless of what their history looks like.
Oh, yeah.
But it is like some people. It's just I feel like it's Godfather. Every time I get out, they pull me back in. Right? I don't know how many times I've said that. It's almost ridiculous because it's just within me. I
Mhm.
can't get away from it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've sworn it off, but that
Mhm.
and I'm glad it didn't stick. I mean, this has been a big life changer for me.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, just some of the payouts from last year. I mean, we did some cool stuff with, the family and the house and things like that. We actually bought an old truck.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's like this some of those things that you don't think, you're like, man, we really need a new couch. It's like, well,
Let's
again,
take it.
let's make it happen,
So we started things off with like the biggest challenge that you faced in your journey. What's like the biggest coolest thing that like you just said, you know what? I've got some money coming in from trading. I'm going to go do that. Like what was your biggest personal payoff to yourself or to your family?
Um, I'd say it was just like pulling out for the family that like 6 grand for taking those one of the 250Ks
Mhm,
to the full six payouts, and then just
mhm.
pulling the whole thing out. It was like, okay, it's there, I can do it. Like, great, we'll start over. But that was a long-term goal, because I was I think 3 payouts in, and
Mhm.
then they went to Apex 3.0, and we're like,
Yeah,
"Okay, cool, so now you gotta get 6 payouts and you can take the full balance." And I was like, "Okay, so now I gotta get 3 more payouts." But I actually really like the 3.0, because I love the $50 a day thing. I
yeah.
think, like, in my mind, a winning day is $50, and I
Mhm.
think that's really great. Where if it was 500, I'd get discouraged,
Sure.
and I would try way too hard. I would size too heavy, whatever. But it's like, man, just getting those consistent days. I mean, it was great to keep. I kept those accounts alive for the last quarter of the year. In
Mhm.
fact, I was green every day from August 1st through December something. It was like 4
Wow,
months.
that's
And
crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. And so sad to see him go, but I did hit that goal of, like, man, one, I wanted to get the funding, and two,
Mhm.
I wanted to get that account to the full 6 payouts and then take a big one, which was
Right.
great. So I hope to do that again later this year. We'll see. I'm submitting one tonight, so
Leave,
fingers
leave
crossed.
yourself enough buffer to continue trading it, though. Just
Yeah,
'cause you can doesn't mean you should.
yeah, yeah. I would not, in hindsight, I should have just kept that alive, and taken a payout every 8 days, because that was
Right.
very doable.
Right.
You know.
It's amazing how things can start to feel scattered so quickly when we just change the dynamics.
Mhm.
And $500 worth of drawdown when you're used to 2,500 or more I mean, it's a different beast. And if you get lucky on that first trade and you don't hit any drawdown, what happens if you take a small loss and you're down, $80? Now in
Yeah,
your head now it's like now I'm down to 420.
you're panicking. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you panic, of course, that's never good for trading. So
Oh yeah.
keep that buffer in there, brother.
That's it. I will be keeping the buffer,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, that's just the smart thing to do. And like I said, my goal is just to keep accounts. I want to my that 101 trading days or whatever it was. It's like I want to see
Break the
200.
record.
I
Break the
want
record, man.
I want to see one stay alive all year.
Yeah.
And like I said, I want to do personal as well. But it's like that's a great goal, man. I want to trade properly. I want to know what I'm doing and know that whatever opportunity comes along, that I'd be able to take advantage of it and stick it out. I want to do it right, you know.
Well, keep doing what you're doing, man. I love hearing from you, and every time it's a new, fresh story, and that's one of the things I love about you is you continue to grow, not just as a trader, but as a person. And it's so exciting to see, especially when you've got such a little one in your world now,
Mhm.
because I've kind of started to hear the stories from right before she was born, and
I know,
well,
crazy.
it's an exciting time in your life, and I think the biggest thing is that you are poised to really be able to be there in ways that I wish I could have been when my kids were that age, and that just wasn't my world. But I don't know. To me, that's one of the big benefits of this lifestyle.
I love it. Yeah, I love the freedom of it's obviously the point. Like
Why we do
that's
it.
yeah.
So. Well, I could absolutely do this all day. I know you've got to get moving with the rest of yours, and I actually have some more commitments this afternoon. But I sure appreciate you sharing some time with me today, and really just getting to have some fun. I love doing this. This to me is this is not work. I don't know. Maybe people are going to just enjoy watching these interviews, but for me, I just have so much pleasure doing them, especially when I get to catch up with my buddies. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, man. Well, keep me posted. Let me know how everything's coming along because I want to see how you continue to build and grow from here.
All right, we'll see, man. I think it's the sky's the limit.
100%. Well, I appreciate you, man, and I look forward to hearing great things.
All right, Gates, you take care.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, Jim. Hey, thanks for joining us on today's episode of the Forge Trader Podcast. It really means so much to me that you're here, and hopefully you're enjoying my journey as well as some of my buddies. And I look forward to bringing more of that to you. If you want more Forge Trader in your life, I encourage you to go to theforgedtrader.com/join. I will be doing announcements on any content that's coming out. I will be doing some special member-only live Q&A sessions, not just with me, but hopefully in the future with some of my guests as well. And this will be exclusive to anybody who is a member. This is completely free to join. Just pop in your name and email address. I won't abuse it. This is just my way of keeping in touch with you guys. As always, I encourage you to connect with me on social at The Forged Trader at pretty much all of them, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, all the goods. We'll be possibly putting up a TikTok, so keep an eye out for that as well. And of course, if you need funding for your futures day trading, make sure to go to apextraderfunding.com and use coupon code FORGED at checkout to get the best prices available at any given time. No matter what sale is going on, you'll get the best price available anywhere. Use coupon code FORGED, and you can get the link in the description. And I can't wait to see you guys on the next episode of the Forge Trader Podcast.